Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is Dean Tenney coming to you from my studio in fabulous Las Vegas. We are broadcasting to YouTube. That's the easiest place to join us. We're broadcasting to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. If you missed the live stream Q&A, it is available as a podcast episode, both on the YouTube channel afterwards, as well as Spotify. So let us know what series exam you're taking. Let us know where you're joining us from. And if you have a question, please put it in the format of a Q with what exam you're taking, followed by your question. That way it's easier for me to pull that out of the chat. So we start our live streams with a little housekeeping and some debrief. So the biggest debrief. So we'll do that. Then we do the housekeeping, and then we get into whatever questions you may have about your exam. So the biggest debrief is Series 65 on June 12th. You're only going to need a 70% to pass. Woohoo! We have a podcast episode on the changes in the 65, as well as a podcast episode on the changes in the 66. We do cover every exam in our live stream, and we do have some Series 24 debrief to share, and some of that is also tested elsewhere. So let me go over some of that debrief for you. What's showing up on the exam, no surprise, is TRACE. TRACE is the Trade Reporting and Compliance Engine, and what should you know about that as a 24 or as a 10 is for fixed income securities, not munis. Munis get reported through IMA, the Electronic Municipal Market Access. So, they could say an accept format, for example. I would know that you have 15 minutes to report under TRACE. FINRA immediately disseminates that information. They think if there's more transparency, there'd be better, less spreads. We're trying to drag the bond guys into the modern age. And stocks, we report in 10 seconds. But, bond guys, we're trying to get them there slowly. So 15 minutes, oh my, I can't do it. It is dual side reporting. That means both the buyer and the seller report. In most circumstances, only one side of the trade reports is the sell side, and they report in 10 seconds. So that's what I would know if I'm a 24 test taker about TRACE. Everybody should know about Reg A plus. Reg A is not Bob Marley music. Reg A is an exempt transaction under 33, also known as a safe harbor. So the SEC says, did you sell unregistered securities? Did you register this with the SEC? I say, well, no, but I availed myself of a safe harbor or an exemption called Reg A plus. Now, every test taker, what would I know? They go a little more in depth on 24 than they do the other exams. But I would know a Reg A plus has two tiers. The first tier is up to 20 million in a 12-month period, and no more than 6 million can be from existing shareholders. Tier 2, and that's very testable in all exams, is we can go up to 75 million in 12-month period. I would know that 75 million is a recognition question. We can have non-accredited investors, but in Tier 2, there now becomes a suitability. There's no suitability standard in terms of net worth on Tier 1, but in Tier 2, non-accredited investors are going to be limited to an investment of no more than 10% of their net worth. We also have some Series 7 debrief. This shows up all the time, no surprise. The cost basis of a gift or cost basis of inherited stock. If I donate the securities to my nephew, it's a gift to my nephew. My nephew assumes my cost basis. If Uncle Dean dies, the cost basis is market value at death. So I'm crossing the curb and boom, I'm gone. There's going to be a step up. So if I bought the Apple at, let's say, 170 and Apple's 200, 200 is the cost basis. So, that's pretty standard on all the exams. Either somebody's alive and they gift the security or somebody's dead. So that's on a lot of the different ones. And we said there's a step up. I don't know why it hurts my heart when people say they struggle with super voting. I mean, I've covered this many times. When you're trying to find an answer, put it in the search bar on either the channel or our sister Reddit communities, and it'll come up. Super voting is a class of stock that has more than one vote per share. This has been showing up consistently on the Series 7. For example, the Ford Motor Company, Ford family has Class B shares. They have 10 votes per share. So even though they don't control a lot of the equity, they control most of the votes. It's called dual class voting. Super voting, Facebook. Zuckerberg has super voting shares. It's typical of, the founder having super voting shares, but it's a dual class, and the super voting shares are the class of stock that has more than one vote per share. I made a whole video on LIFO versus FIFO. Last in, first out is the answer for variable annuities. FIFO is unidentified shares. If you've been purchasing shares over several time periods, that's where that shows up, and I've done an entire video on that. It also shows up in how we do exercise notices as well. Some of the calculations, no surprise here on Debrief. I've always said you can't be fumbling around with calculating parity. You've got to be able to do that as a matter of routine. Dividend payout ratio, they said they encountered. That's simply taking the dividend divided by the earnings. So if I pay out a $2 dividend and I have $4 in earnings, the dividend payout ratio is 50%. They got a credit call spread. Maximum gain is the credit, and the break even in a call spread is the lower strike plus the net premium. Okay, so that is the debrief we have available for you today. And so now let's take care of some housekeeping. My next evening class I'm going to be doing is an advanced option strategies class. That will be $60, and you can register for that at deantenneytutoringsetmore.com. We also, if you have a class, we just finished our free office hour. That opens our unlocks free office hours for you. The free office hours are capped, and they're only for people who either purchase tutoring or have purchased a class. We do a free live stream overtime session, not every Tuesday, but after this live stream, we reconvene at 6:15 most Tuesdays, not tonight. Tonight, what I've done is a recording of last Tuesday overtime session, and after this, it'll redirect you there, and you can see if that's something you'd like to partake in, and that's free for everybody. Anybody who wants to register for that overtime session is welcome to do so. We have discount codes. Kaplan has a 10% discount for me and my viewers. It's Guru10 for any Kaplan product or services. And Brian Lee, managing member Test Geek Exam Prep LLC, gives our viewers a 20% discount. That's Guru20 at checkout. I am teaching some Kaplan public classes. I'll be teaching the Series 66 on June 21st, 23rd. I'll be teaching the Series 9 June 15th for Kaplan. I'll be teaching the Series 10 June 30th. And then the Q3 schedule, I'll be teaching a 24 on July 17th, an SIE on August 7th, a 7 on August 14th, and a 66 on the 18th. At the end of each of our calls, we do a 30-minute coaching call. If you win within an hour, you send me an email. I'll put it up there, dean7guru@gmail.com. This is for 4 p.m. Monday. It's recorded and shared with other test takers. It has to be claimed. You can reassign it if you'd like. You can share it. You can do with it what you will. We had last week's winner ask me if he could give it to somebody in the office because he had already tested and passed. I don't know why he entered the drawing, but long story short, I said, no problem. And we did the coaching call with that person. People have continued to struggle trying to find videos. There's 514 videos. So my channel is a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But the easiest way to find your video is go to the series for your exam. The guy just before we got on live stream said, Dean, where can I find Series 7 videos? I said, you go to the homepage and you'll find all the Series 7 playlists there for you. So that's the best way to go about finding videos is through the playlist, not looking at the video buffet and trying to pick, one of the 500. Okay, so now I think we're ready to go to our comments and see what questions we can answer for you this evening. Now, let's see. Welcome, San Diego. Oh, man, but how blessed are you, John? San Diego just has beautiful weather. I spent a lot of time in Ensenada, and I can't wait to get back there because, boy, just a beautiful place. So you are blessed. I don't miss California much, but I certainly miss the weather. Damn, Kathy, that hurts. That hurts. So, those scores, particularly those almost passing scores, really, really hurt. So, yeah, get right back on that horse. I have a podcast, Kathy. I'll link to it at 9:26. I don't know if you've already watched it, but it's 5 steps to take immediately after you fail. And I would get your new test date right away. You can set your test date if you go 30 days out, and I highly recommend that. Long Island, New York. I've been there too, accidentally. My Marine buddy and I were coming from Camp Lejeune up to New York, and somehow we took a wrong turn and we ended up on Long Island. I don't know how we did that, but 63, I love it. So 63, You don't have as many performance opportunities, John. So just make sure you're practice drilling and rehearsing so you're familiar with questions. I don't know who your provider is, but Kaplan on the NASAA exams is pretty spot on. So if you're using Kaplan, you're doing your practice questions, you should be in pretty good shape. I like it, Jasmine. I don't think our sixes get as much love as they should, but I'm trying to correct that. We do, Jasmine, have a Reddit community for Series 6 test takers. It's called R Series 6. We started it just, I don't know, about 4 weeks ago. We got about 65 people in there. I always recommend Jasmine Kaplan, but no surprise, Guru Exam Prep LLC. Kaplan contracts with my LLC to teach some classes for them. So if I didn't think they were best, I wouldn't be teaching them for them. So I would recommend Kaplan. Yeah, the 24, Jennifer, is it's not a walk in the park. I don't know what your background is, Jennifer, but the people who use, I do many 24 classes where you have 100% pass rate. But people who are challenged on that are typically people who it's been many years since they had their Series 7, and they're typically packaged product folks, meaning they come from the mutual side or insurance side of the business. And that trading and banking can be really foreign to those men and women. So that's a real challenge. I think people know it's a real challenge. So hopefully, Jennifer, your sponsoring broker-dealer gets that, because that is a significant challenge. But boy, you'll feel good when you pass, right? Jennifer, in our Reddit community for the 24, it's our Series 24. We have sister Reddit communities. That's for 9, 10s, and 24s. And when people pass, Jennifer, I usually put in their kudos general securities principle. This guy said, I never thought that would mean so much to me. But all these exams, I think when you learn and you pass, you're going to feel pretty good. Atlanta. I spent all kinds of time in Alpharetta, which is north of Atlanta. Oh my God. I'm trying to remember that. There was a really neat place where they had great beer and great food in Alpharetta. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but answers. I'm not sure, Jennifer, what you mean by answers. Did you ask a question? All right. Passing the first time is always the way to go. Pennsylvania, Brad, are you a Vanguard crew member? I think Vanguard takes up a big part of Pennsylvania. I'm joking, but not really. Valley Forge is quite large. Oh, there you go. 73, 75. So I think those are pretty good. Is your vendor STC or Kaplan or Pass Perfect STC? As long as you have a good vendor, I think you should feel pretty comfortable, Jennifer, this time out with those scores. I don't know if you put them in chronological order, but that's looking pretty good. I would have every expectation you would pass, particularly based on your previous score. NYS, is that New York State, Ginger? Series 9, are you doing the 9 before the 10? The 10 is a real slog. The 9, don't get too in the weeds on strategies as much as supervision. So I'm not saying you're not going to get strategies, but make sure you stay on the broad avenues and highways of supervision. I think the only, Emmett, I think STC is a fine vendor. I don't think STC puts you at risk versus Kaplan, but Kaplan's QBank, I think, is a better QBank because there's more performance opportunities, as well as you can manipulate it, and there's a performance tracker. So I would give the edge to Kaplan just based on the QBank, but STC is a fine firm. I don't think you're not going to be able, when you don't make the mark, you don't want to be, you shouldn't blame your vendor. So assuming you have a reputable vendor, it's up to you then to execute a study plan. Exempted and excluded. Well, remember, exemption are issuers, John, and that's a laundry list, right? It's a list. It's a noun. Excluded is a verb about how we're selling it. So, exempt versus excluded, and that could be, broker dealers. It could be securities. Watch John, I'll link it 1404. I'll link a video 1404 called The Mighty 90. That video, John, is 90 minutes on the 63. What I did, John, was collapse my 4-hour 63 class into a 90-minute video. So I think if you watch that, you should be in pretty good shape. And then we also on the 63 playlist have some good practice exams. One, John, that I just put in there a couple of weeks back, maybe even just a week ago, was somebody who wanted to do the exam, and we did it together. So we have practice exams where you can watch me do it. And then we have practice exams where people do it with me. And we just did one. And boy, that guy was really squared away. So what you can do is you watch us do it together. You can hit, pause, give your answer, and then hear his answer, and then either my correction or my commentary on that. Long time no see, Erica. Erica was in our just concluded office hour a bit ago. So there you go, Ben. Yeah, I think Ben, is that you that did that with me? I think it was Ben. Was it you that did that with me? Yeah, I think it is. And boy, I wish you could have tested sooner. You got no problems, my friend. I'm going to be shocked if you have any kind of a problem. Sometimes, who cares when you're watching that explication? I think Ben missed like only 3 questions. That's just unreal. And that takes a lot of work. So, don't get your self-esteem in comparison to other test takers. Just worry about yourself. Right. And so when you're taking track of what you missed or not, don't start, stay away from people who in the office are going to, mess with your psyche. Clever gives some tips. I don't know what that means. Happy Tuesday, Trina. Happy Tuesday. Oh, does Clever pass or something? Oh, I'm sorry. I missed Clever. Hey, all right. There we go. I thought that Erica was using Clever with a K instead of a C. That's the way to do it. Investment advisor representative. Woo! Does that conclude your testing journey? For most, that would be the end of their testing journey. So Clever would, in the normal sequence, take an SIE, a 7, and then a 66. However, I've had some people that does not conclude their matriculation. They're going on to do a 9 or a 10 or a 24, or whatever the case may be. I would tell you, once you're in the registration mode, just keep marching, because I had somebody who did very well on her SIE or 7 and her 66, and she said the firm was offering the opportunity to take a 9, 10, and I think she'd already done the 24, and she was thinking about taking several months off and then circling back. And I said, please don't, because a lot of the stuff is minutia. It will tend to dissipate, and there's a lot of overlap. So once you're in this registration mode, if you can, just continue to run the table as many registrations as you can if it's available to you. I think we did that already. All right. We'll be sending good test vibes your way, Kendra, based in New York City, the Big Apple. Big Apple. I love New York City. I spent most of my career in San Francisco, but I also spent a lot of time in New York City and the state of New York. Test question. My broker-dealer has no office in New York, and Dean is conducting a business in New York. So how is it that Dean isn't registered, my firm or myself, as a broker-dealer or agent in the state of New York? Because all my customers were institutional. Right? If I have a place of business in New York, then I'd have to register that broker-dealer. And by the way, New York is, Kendra, they don't mess around in New York with securities registrations. Letitia James is the attorney general in charge of the state administrator in New York, and she's not to be trifled with. June 6th, I like that, Trina. About 7-10 days out, should get a mark by doing a practice test. And hopefully those practice test scores are above 70. The higher above 70, the better. I'm not as much of a stickler as other accountability partners who, once you get like in the 80s, I'm happy if you just, are in the 70 range. David, thanks for joining us from LinkedIn. We broadcast, as I said, to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. So welcome from LinkedIn. Hi, Dean. I hope all is well. Still waiting on my question 66 challenge, which will hopefully give me the P. I'm not sure, David. Did you listen? I apologize. I'm pretty good at returning emails, but the channel is coming up on 2 million views and 20,000 subscribers, and every once in a while, something falls through the cracks. So I'm not sure, David, what you mean by the 66 challenge. On your actual exam, I think it's coming to me now. I think, David, you challenged your score and see if they're going to change it. Somebody had a successful challenge last week. It doesn't happen often. So let's wish you good luck. Let's wish you good luck on that. Well, the efficient frontier is a part of modern portfolio theory. And so the efficient frontier would be when you get to a portfolio that maximizes returns while minimizing risk. It might have been a distractor. What I mean by that is maybe the efficient frontier was not the right answer and it was a distractor. I'm assuming Friday. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, I apologize. But you would only see the efficient frontier on a 65, 66. And I don't think you would see it as a correct answer, but mainly a distractor. But it's the portfolio set that maximizes risk and reward return. I think what you might see in that regard would be what's called the Sharpe ratio. And the Sharpe ratio, the higher Sharpe ratio, that means the more efficient our portfolio is in terms of maximizing return on risk. Yeah, I do, Mary. So one of the things you can do, I try and put them up every quarter. And so, for example, Cynthia has purchased the first quarter's classes. I run them, try and run them each quarter, and then you get free repeats. So yeah, the answer is yes. And this is the second quarter, so it'll show back up again on the third quarter. But you can certainly watch the first quarter replay, and you can certainly watch this quarter's replay as well. I put them up. I have a playlist on Zoom classes and tutoring sessions and all that kind of stuff. Let me find that for you. So on the channel, if you go, there's a playlist, and it has all the live classes on replays. So that's tutoring, that's coaching calls. And so you might want to check that out. You can see some things that may speak to you in terms of that. And the answer to your question is yes, there will be another one. There will be another one. It's funny, Kaplan calls me and says, what are these evening classes? I go, well, they're not competitive. I'm just kind of having fun with the channel, seeing what we can do. So let's see. There's Friday. South Dakota. Wow. Just passed the SIE. There you go. You didn't have a study vendor. Well, it's a supplement. It's a free supplement. But on the SIE particularly, I think there's plenty there. Oh, my God. I have what? The SIE, I have 2 playlists and half a dozen practice exams. So I think it can be done. Certainly. I think it can be done. Certainly. I think Jackie maybe joined us a little late. The answer is yes. I have 2 videos. I'll post them at 21:47. I have a podcast episode. It's about 45 minutes going over all the changes. Well, that one's only about 20 minutes on the 66. So I'll link it in the video replay, but you can also find it in my podcast playlist. It says 66 changes effective June 12th, but I'll link it for you. I like that. I had a guy do the 10 before the 9. I was kind of like, you can do it any order you want, but I was wondering why he would do the 10 before the 9. Upstate New York is gorgeous. Poughkeepsie, New York, and where else have I spent time in upstate New York? I had that Marine buddy I told you where we ended up on Long Island. We were actually on our way to Kingston, which was his hometown. People think New York is just New York City. There's a whole bunch of New York that is not New York City. Beautiful, particularly upstate New York. STC with a Kaplan sub. Can't seem to get past 73, 74. Well, 70, Jennifer, I think is fine because you're going to pick up some points. I mean, the higher the score, the better. But I'm surprised when people get 70 plus and they don't make their mark. Between 60 and 70, I think you're at risk. I have people get below 70 still pass, but you want to be in that 70 plus range. It is. It's designed to be tough for Jackie. It's about 5 points tougher. So, it's designed to be tougher. Yeah, well, I have a lot of people that are taking their 65 based on greed. I have lots of people say they can't be paid unless they get their 65, right? And a lot of times it's not even 65 business. I know a lot of particularly people on the insurance production side, insurance agents, are telling me that their payout matrix is skewed so that they don't have a 65. It causes them to lose money on other things. So, they have a good motivator. They have that motivator of greed. Fear and greed, 2 great. Great. Well, okay, Reg M. So Reg M is about making a market while we're in the primary market, conflicts of interest in the primary market while we're doing business in the secondary market, meaning a market maker, right? And during the restricted period, the market maker can actually get a restricted withdrawal. So I will put a link and I'll put a video that I have on pegging and Reg M. If we don't want to do a withdrawal, we can do what's called go passive. And if we go passive under Reg M, so my banking guys are doing a follow-on. I'm running the market making desk. I'm the Series 57. And I say, no, I don't want to withdraw my quotes. I want to go passive. And going passive means I can't have a bid higher than the highest independent bid unless it's a customer limit order. And then stabilization is part of Reg M. So stabilization, if we're going to use stabilization, that's a legal form of pegging. It's a legal form of pegging. We have to have it in the prospectus. Better to have it in the prospectus and not need it. the need it not having. I have a whole lecture in the 24 playlist on pegging. And pegging is keeping the stock artificially high, right? So that's the only time I can do that is an IPO. You know, for example, maybe I make a deal with my fellow dealers of, I don't know, BMW Z8s. And, you know, the allocation we have for BMW Z8s in the Las Vegas metropolitan area is limited, and we have more demand than supply. And BMW says we should sell them for 100 grand, but I call my buddies and say, listen, if we all agree to sell them for 150, we'll make an extra $50,000. Let's peg it at 150. Let's keep the price artificially at 150. And then at some point we would move that and it would find its natural price. The best example I can recall of this, recently is relative. Oh God, like me, relative could be 10 years, but Facebook was a firm commitment underwriting, and the firm commitment from Morgan Stanley was at 38. Nobody is going to buy new stock in Facebook at 38 if they can buy it in the secondary market for something less than that. And so one member of the syndicate is going to put in a stabilizing bid at 38. So the stock went public at 38, was at 38 for 3 days in a row. That's because they're stabilizing it. They're doing a late legal form of pegging. So every time it comes in, we're buying it, we're selling, or we're buying it, selling, and until we finally get rid of it. Michael Grimes is the 24 at Morgan Stanley, in charge of tech banking. And he said, we spent $200 million stabilizing Facebook. Tomorrow, we're removing the stabilizing bid and it will find its natural price. Now, as I mentioned, the only time you can do that is in a firm commitment underwriting. It's got to be in the prospectus. It's part of, again, Reg M. It's the only time you'd look on the screen and see a one-sided quote. And then Reg M also speaks to covering short positions as a result of the offering. So hope that's a nice overview, Fraser. But like I say, I will link to a couple of videos I have on that. And then I'll be teaching the 24 at Kaplan if you want to join up to today's class. I had somebody ask today, can you take a Kaplan class with Dean if you don't have Kaplan materials? The answer is yes, because we work from a class notebook that is part of what you pay to enroll in the class. So it was Ben, man, I'm telling you what, that was incredible. Ben and I enjoyed ourselves so much. That's hard to do, enjoy yourself on a 63. I think we talked another 30 minutes after that, Ben, and I went ahead and thought, well, maybe people don't want to hear Ben and I shoot the breeze for 30 minutes. So I think it has a pretty abrupt stop. I think when Ben and I get done, I think I chopped it, Ben, right? Like, boom, we're done. So I don't know. I don't know why the Roth conversion, I'll tell you why. I mean, because, this idea that you don't have required minimum distributions, you don't pay taxes, it might behoove you to suck it up and pay taxes now. For example, Mitt Romney, when he left Bain Capital, he took a distribution from his pension plan, paid the taxes, and put it in a Roth. And last time I heard, he had a couple $100 million in that Roth. He's not going to get a nasty letter when he's, about a required minimum distribution, and the withdrawals are going to be tax-free. When he was running for president, he said he took a $40 million withdrawal from the Roth to fund his presidential campaign. And he said he wanted more, but his wife said he could only take 40. So, Well, thank you, Cynthia. I try. Would you be able to go a question about convertible bonds? I can. One thing, Kendra, I'm going to try to do that. But if I don't get it done, I will put it as a video. But I also would want you to put that into the search bar on the YouTube channel, put convertibles, and see if perhaps I haven't already done that question. Because I have several convertible questions that I've done in video format where you can watch the actual question. If you go to the Series 7 playlist, are you taking Series 7, Kendra? Put in the chat if you are. You go to Series 7, and there's a playlist that just has practice tests and practice questions. But I'll try and bring that up for you. And remember, convertibles are very testable, and the thing you got to know is parity. So let's get through the comments, and then if I will attempt to bring up the Kaplan QBank. Where would you find the Mighty 90? You would find it, John, in the 63 playlist. So again, the best way to find videos is you go to the playlist for your series. In your case, Series 63. And then in the 63 playlist, it's probably either top 4 or 5 videos in the list. It'll be there. In that particular video, John, you could actually go to popular videos. And then, because I think it's got like 60,000 views or some crazy thing. I think it's one of my top performing videos on the channel. So you might be able to find that. I think it's 1, 2, or 3 in terms of most popular videos. But I will also, as I said, link it to you. She's awful. 66, Jacob, LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us. Well, churning isn't about the market. Churning's about a particular customer. So, Jacob, churning is something I don't do to the market. It's what I do to a living, breathing human being. Market manipulation, on the other hand, like like painting the tape, giving the false impression of volume, that would be market manipulation. So I could use their account. The account, if I'm using their account to do that, give the false impression of volume, it could be, but usually the client account would be more about churning. Well, again, if you're using Kaplan, just send me that QID, Jacob, and I'm more than happy to explicate it for you. I know I have a couple questions I haven't quite got to yet, but send that to me. But churning is trades excessive in size and frequency. It's not about what's going to happen to the market. It's about what's going to happen to the client. Market manipulation is about not the customer, but what's giving the false impression of volume, for example, or we earlier, Jacob, talked about pegging or capping. Those would be market manipulation. So find that question. By the way, good news though, Jacob, Kaplan jerks are bigger jerks than the real jerks. So, we're trying to stretch your mind and hope it doesn't go back to the same spot. That may or may not be what happens, but Kate Hepburn. All right. Failed the 65 with 65, a 65 on a 65. I think the best approach, I will link Kay Hepburn to at 3126. I will link to my episode on building a study plan. I have a podcast episode and it goes about how to build a study plan. So basically what you need to do is have a test date and from that reverse engineer your study plan. And your study plan should include what I call study blocks, 45 minutes to an hour and a half, where you're going to, dedicate yourself to doing your study. And it depends on whether you're a part-time study or full-time study, or let's assume you're full-time. If I were an accountability partner, and let's say you're going to give me 90-minute blocks, the minimum I would want from you is 3 90-minute blocks a day. And then what I'd want you to do is rotate activities. I can't stress this enough. You have to read the book. I had a guy today in social media who's talking about how his primary method is missing questions. That's not good. You should mix that. You should be diversified in what you're doing. You should be reading the book. You should be doing practice questions. You should be watching videos. If you change the subject and you change the activity, you'll last longer. So if I have 3 study blocks in the day, I would do in the first one, maybe I do reading. Second one, I do practice questions. Third one, I watch videos, for example. And I would also rotate subject areas. So I wouldn't do, for example, 3 90-minute blocks on bonds. I do 90 minutes on bonds, 90 minutes on registration. And if you rotate the subject area, change the channel intellectually, that too will keep you fresher. But I do have an entire podcast episode on that. And remember, a lot of vendors also have some very helpful things. For example, Kaplan has what it calls a study calendar, which will reverse engineer that for you. In other words, you put in your information and it spits out, a study plan. Yeah, there you go. I love it. Marcel, hey, I will tell mom loves you. Marcel brought us some community coffee, which is a famous Louisiana brand of coffee when he came to visit and bought mom and I dinner. So he is a hero in this household. So I will definitely pass on to mom your greetings. Oh, well, no worries. Yeah, I think you meant Ginger SIE. I don't have any problem with achievable for the SIE. You could, as somebody just said, you could use my playlist and pass the SIE. I have no problem with achievable as a Series 7 supplement. I think the Kaplan Q Bank is a better supplement than achievable, and I think Test Geek is a better supplement. Both of those together are less than the achievable. But I understand there's an occult on people who love achievable. I get it. Brandon's a great guy. The only thing I'd warn you about is the correlation on the questions. People are, this is one of those theological things, but, some people think questions don't matter. Nobody has questions that reflect the exam, and that's bullshit. There are vendors who try to mimic the exam, and Kaplan does the best job of that. And so my only issue with achievable is I've had more than one person. Every time I say that, somebody thinks I'm bashing achievable. I'm not. I'm just saying the correlation on those scores don't match up to the exam sometimes. So what I get worried about, Ginger, is I've had more than one person who will abandon their primary study vendor, whether it be Kaplan, Pass Perfect, or STC. They buy Achievable as a supplement, and then they love it because, Brandon's so lucid, he writes good prose, and then they start getting higher scores, and they abandon their thing, and they get a high score in Achievable that doesn't translate to the test. So just be careful of correlation in terms of the practice test. Other than that, I got zero issue with Achievable. There you go, Megan. There you go. That's odd. I'm not sure why you decided to do that. I guess, was it you, Megan, who told me that you're struggling more with the 9 than the 10? I think that's surprising. I think that was you. And I think I answered you with wow, because that's usually not the case. That's usually not the case. So that was kind of surprising to me. Not New York City, New York State. Okay, I got it. No, because you're not going to have to do any calculation on the capital asset pricing model. But you do need to know about the capital asset pricing model is that what comes from the capital asset pricing model is the concept of beta and alpha, which is the part of the capital asset pricing model you get tested on. And the way they test them on is required or expected return. I do, Gus, have a video where I discuss that briefly, and I will link to it. It's 3604, and it's called Analytical Tools, and that is one of them. Brian just did a video that I thought was pretty good on discounted cash flow, but I think, Gus, a lot of people make a major mistake in terms of investment of time and resources on 65 and 66 on quantitative analysis that doesn't pay dividends for them. You need to stay on the broad avenues and highways of that information. For example, that same area is the balance sheet questions. There's way more balance sheet questions than there is anything about internal rates of return or future value or capital asset pricing model. So just be careful. Yeah, mainly, Gus, it's input and output to the math. So I'll link to that for you, and you can check that out. Yeah, all vendors, Jessica, all vendors go total overkill. At Kaplan, the guy who's in charge of the 65 and 66 is a guy named Chuck Lowenstein. I love him. He's an eccentric guy, and we talk a lot. And he's got some of the math questions where he goes, well, you won't see this on your exam. And I'm like, well, gee, Chuck, then why are you putting it there? It's not as bad, Jessica, as Pass Perfect. So all test prep vendors go way overboard on math. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, Pat Riley, man. I just saw a stat, XJ, that he's been involved in some shape or fashion. 25% of all NBA finals. That's crazy. It's crazy. Former Laker guy, by the way, for those of you who are not basketball aficionados. I hear they're going to be afraid of the ratings, so they were afraid only diehard NBA fans like Dean are going to watch. Yeah, I would just take it. I wouldn't be waiting around for 2%. Hopefully, you should always overlearn these things so that you can take down any draw. Whether it's I'm wishing for you a dream draw, everything you studied shows up, and you go, man, I don't understand what the big deal was. But you got to be prepared for what I call a face of death draw, where you're slogging your way through this thing, and I wouldn't want to think that you need that 2% as your margin of safety, but it's your choice. You want to be comfortable. Is that 66, Jacob? Let me write that down. 1178785, and I think that's 66. So we got 2 Kaplan QIDs, and I will try and bring up those in at the end of our live stream. If not, I will do them as video explications. I'm still not as competent as I'd like to be on my live stream. So what I mean by that is I'm afraid if I try and do something fancy, I might accidentally end the live stream. So I need to probably do a practice session on bringing up the QBank. I think I'm getting better at bringing up the QBank and some of our other venues. So hopefully I'll be able to do that. So Jacob, just let me know what exam that's for. Well, one last question, any advice on 63? Well, I think one thing I'd warn you is you don't have a lot of performance opportunities on that. So, it shouldn't be a big deal. Most people pass it, but you can't be messing around because, there's not a lot of performance opportunities. So make sure you do as many practice. Usually I tell you that you need to read the book, you need to lay base knowledge, but on 63, you really just got to rifle through as many practice questions as you can. So. I'm not a big fan of AD Banker. I think if you have AD Banker and 7, SIE, I told you, I don't think anybody's at risk on SIE regardless of their vendor. There's enough free supplements and paid supplements that you can do it. But if you're using AD Banker for your Series 7, really consider really getting going to work on supplements, either free supplements or paid supplement. And I don't even know if AD Banker offers 9s, 10s, and 24s, but I wouldn't be them. They're not a recommendation of mine. So I'm not a big fan of AD Banker. Yeah, making that 10. That 10 is a slog. I had all kinds of people want me to do a 10 practice final on the channel, and I finally did. And, and I love our business. I love the industry. I love helping test takers, but it was one of the most painful experiences I've had so far in any of my longer form videos that are on the channel. It's just, whew. Study groups are great, Ginger. I think study groups give you accountability. So, you can't show up. Well, I guess you could, but you'd probably feel guilty if you showed up and you were not prepared. So I'm a big fan of peer study groups. But, every once in a while, make sure it's one that works for you, because if not, you need to find a new study group. I had somebody and I had to tell them kind of find a new study group because they were getting more confused by listening to confused people. So, make sure you've got one that works, though. It's great. It's great. Sales supervisor. No, there's certain things you got to be able to do. I just told you one, right? Calculating parity. You got to be able to do that. You got to be able to do current yield. You got to be able to do price to earnings. So the stuff that's there is there. Suitability is one of those ones where it's judgment questions. So the 3 styles of questions in all these exams are recognition, practical application, and judgment. 63 is almost exclusively recognition. On Series 7, the vast majority of is recognition. That's things that you simply know or don't, like the option agreement has to be back in 15 days. Practical application, that's the math. You can't be giving up practical application questions because there's no interpretation of what the break even is on a covered call, for example. It's simply something you can do or you can't. You want to save your misses for judgment questions. Judgment questions is one where you go, oh, I don't know, And almost all suitability questions are judgment questions. And so the way you attack that is by being solid on the products themselves. What I mean by that is you should definitely know that a partnership would be unsuitable. They usually test negatively, right? A partnership would be unsuitable for somebody who needs liquidity. Muni bonds would be suitable for somebody in a high tax bracket. So again, I would say be really solid on the products. Function three of the outline, content outline. So the test writing committee says there's 4 functions doing in broker: find a customer, open an account, make an investment, and then what happens afterwards. And that function 3, the investments, is 91 questions on the Series 7. That's options, that's munis, that's mutual funds. That's about 60 questions right there. So make sure on these exams you're paying attention to the weighting. Any exam you're taking, you should go to the either FINRA or NASAA website, print the content outline, the PDF, or NASAA calls them test specifications. And in every study session, I would have that next to me and use it as kind of a thing to kind of check and do a little intellectual inventory. So your point about math, can I do the break even here? Can I do the parity? Can I do whatever it is? If it's the 65 or 66, and I'm doing the discounted cash flow, whatever the case may be. Now on the Series 7, I've explicated on almost every exam. I've explicated the content outline for the SIE. I've explicated the entire content outline for the 7. And so you can watch me go through that and tell you what the test issue is. It's not a lecture, just me, here's what you're supposed to know. And make sure you know it, and you can go find a video or do whatever to kind of learn that. So suitability is important, but it's based on the actual products themselves, right? So you make sure that. So I think where people struggle is they focus on suitability, they start with the customer first, the data gathering. In the real world, that's how we do it. But, you need to start with owning the customers. The investment vehicle analogy, I think of it as like a car lot, right? What I do is test you on the cars that we have on the lot so that you should recognize what would be appropriate or inappropriate for a soccer mom, for example. Probably not going to put her in a Ferrari. It'd be unsuitable. Maybe I'm going to put her in a minivan, for example. So, that analogy is the one they like on the test. Yeah, I can. The other thing, Megan, I can be more helpful with the Kaplan Q Bank. So even if I can't bring up these QIDs, I'll help you. I'm agnostic about helping you with any vendor you're using, but then you have to cut and paste it or tell me what you're looking at. But if it's Kaplan, you can just send me the QID and I can bring it up backstage. So it's a little easier to be helpful if you have a Kaplan Q Bank. Yeah, training consultants, again, I think you really got to concentrate on a supplement. STC, I don't think you need to worry about it. Kaplan, I don't think you need to worry about it. If you're using Past Perfect, I thought about starting an emotional support group for Past Perfect test takers. They give you too much, and too much is better than not enough. But sometimes I recommend making people get a Kaplan Q Bank just to confirm, when Past Perfect is taking you into the weeds. My God, we had a Cynthia send me a question, a Series 7 practice question that was a butterfly spread. My God, I just lost it. I'm like, I don't know who their curriculum person is. I would say, how could you do this to people? Okay, 66. Thanks. The other thing in the future, Jacob, and whoever else had that other question, 128-2910, there's no problem in the live stream overtime sessions. We're not doing one tonight, but that's easy peasy to do because I have a Zoom whiteboard. It's a virtual classroom, and that's easy to bring up the Kaplan Q Bank. We're not doing that tonight, but in the future, if you sign up for that overtime session, it's easy to do that. Yeah, usually, don't fight your firm. I mean, ride the horse in the direction it's going. So you don't want to get into it with a training director, but I would, don't know how I said this, but I would go with the flow with them. So, for example, they tell me I got to do this, I got to do that, and I do it. And then if you're going to be supplementing or using other sources, and unfortunately, I don't know why they think this, but test prep vendors and sponsoring broker dealers sometimes feel like they and their employees should be monogamous. I don't know of anybody who's monogamous in terms of study materials. I mean, whatever works for people, that's what they're going to use. But that's unfortunate. But if you need to do that outside on your own, I would do it. I just wouldn't, put it in anybody's face. I feel very blessed that a lot of corporate trainers refer people to my channel because they know it's can be trusted, that we're not saying foolish things or doing foolish things. So I didn't even know they did the 9 gender, so that'd be interesting. I don't know what to make of that. I know that I don't know if you're with Schwab, but Schwab recently changed over to training consultants. When they did the merger with TD Ameritrade was using training consultants, and they stick with training consultants past the merger. So it'd be interesting to see what those results are. I like it. That's a great timeline, I think. Definitely doable. I would tell everybody taking the SIE, really make sure you invest in executing that study plan in your SIE, because it'll pay big dividends if you're going on to a 7 top off. So, for example, there's only 3 or 4 questions on options, but while you're there, why not? Why not overlearn the SIE so that the 6 or 7 will be easier for you? So you don't want to barely pass the SIE, because if you do, then you're going to be on you're going to have a harder problem executing the 6 or 7 study plan. You can Google data dump sheets, and all kinds of them will come up on Google, and you can get some good ideas. I think you should make your own. I have a video, I'll link to it, called Series 7 Tips, Tricks, and Memory Aids. And you can get some good ideas for what to put on your data dump sheet there. I would certainly have my matrix. I would certainly have my teeter-totter. Maybe we have bliss, slobs over bliss. So lots of good ideas out there. It wasn't a lot. I actually did a little video, a podcast that's available on that. And you can watch that and you can see it. It's basically not just tweaks. It's more cosmetic than anything. There's a couple new things, but it's mainly cosmetic. So you can watch that podcast episode, and I go over the changes in the content outline. I already have the word for tonight. The word for tonight is confidence. Confidence is our word for tonight. Don't put it in till the end, though. Go over me, you're studying. I don't know. I never thought about that. Well, I don't know. I guess what I would say is I would start with my channel as a supplement with those explications we talked about of the content outline. So, for example, if you're taking your SIE, you have the SIE playlist, and in the first 5 videos, I go through that content outline. And that will help you kind of think, okay, here's the things I need to intellectually own. After that comes lectures. And so on Series 7, for example, most of you vendors have videos, and I call my video set on lectures on Series 7, I call it, "Is your vendor lecture not working for you?" So it's another voice for you to have. So I would use, again, as a supplement. I consider my channel to be the best free supplement to your paid study materials. And those paid study materials typically come with videos. So that's how I would use it. The other thing I would tell you, and I was talking about this earlier, is you're not going to be able to watch. Those people tell me they watched all my videos. That's crazy because there's like 500 hours of videos. Um, as I said, it's a buffet. So I have it. People say, "What should I watch?" It's in suggested watch order. I don't know how to explain that better. So people say, "Which video should I watch first?" The one that's first. That's why I put it there. But that being said, make sure you use the search bar. So for somebody brought up Parity, if you go to the YouTube channel, you put in Parity in the search bar, my video content that discusses that will come up. Full lectures, practice questions, where you can find it in a practice exam. So that would be the other thing I would use as the search bar. I'd also use that in our Reddit community. So I guess you can incorporate me as much or as little as you would find helpful. So I know a lot of people who lean pretty heavily on the channels as a supplement. I know people that use it lightly and kind of cherry pick. So kind of up to you how you want to use the channel. Yeah, it does, Ryan. The book is not strictly follow that content, but the exams do. I think if you do all your Kaplan exams, you should not be surprised. So, the biggest thing that people have in common sometimes, if I, Brian, were your accountability partner, I have a big brother key and I can see what you're doing at Kaplan. The number one thing that people, when they don't pass, I pull up a QBank is they haven't done a QBank usage rate that's sufficient. So, I don't know what rate is efficient, but there is strong correlation to exhausting the Kaplan QBank and passing the exam. I'm not saying memorize questions and answers. I'm saying, that would be part of my study plan. Somebody was asking about a study plan for Series 7, for example. Kaplan has over, let's call it 3,500 questions, somewhere like 3,200. I would divide that by how many days I have in my study plan, and I would set up a pace that I will have exhausted the Kaplan QBank, maybe 6-7 days out. So that's important, is doing that so to get the mark, get familiar with questions. You don't want to be, fumbling around with a question. When you see a convertible, you want to know, oh, I need the conversion ratio. Oh, here's what I need to do on this question. So that comes from practice, drilling, rehearsing. So you're taking the convertible bond question. Okay, well, there's one on the channel. I think there's more than one. There's 2 or 3, and I have an entire lecture with a thumbnail called Parity. By the way, that's another way you can tell it's important. If it wasn't important, I would have made a video on it. Thank you so much, Rachel. Our channel, it's just been so amazing. I started the channel when COVID hit because I thought, man, who knows if I'm ever going to teach a live class again. So, until the COVID, I was a guy who would show up on campus and teach live classes with dry erase boards. And I thought, well, that's probably not going to happen ever again. So I started the channel, but we are coming up on 2 million views. We're going to cross that. I'll do a celebratory live stream. Some people said they want to, ask about career advice and my career. And I thought, well, maybe we'll do that. And I'll pour myself a scotch and smoke a cigar. That's coming rather quickly. We're at 1,900,000 something views, and we're coming up on 20,000 subscribers. We're adding about 1,000 subscribers a month. And Rachel, most of that comes from victorious test takers and the referrals from those victorious test takers. So, I'm just very pleased when people give referrals. I love them. And I told you, I'm also honored that a lot of corporate training departments refer people to the channel. And then, Rachel, I've even had people tell me that they've been in a class of a Kaplan competitor, and people are passing around the link to the channel. So somebody told me that they specifically said not to use me. I was like, oh man, somebody got their feelings hurt. For most people, Jackie, I'll put a link to this in the community page. I just finished a really nice book. I don't agree with everything he said, but he's a college professor, and the book is called Outsmart Your Brain. And it's about the tricks you can play on yourself to help you be a better test taker, do better in studying. And he has all kinds of tips. Mostly, I agree with a lot. I don't agree with everything, but most people do better in the morning. I know I'm a little better in the morning than I'm in the afternoon. I think for a couple reasons. It's quieter, there's less distractions. And I joke about those energy vampires. They typically get you later in the day. And so it's just tough if you're this is particularly true if you're a part-time studier, Because even though you might think you're going to come home and put in a couple hours, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because you're going to be easily distracted. You're already tired. So if you can do it in the morning, that's what I would suggest. Hey, you're welcome. There you go, David. Yeah, come on in, Vegas. We love it. We love it. All right. Well, it looks like it's time for the drawing. And so let me go bring that up. Let me go find that. And those two QIDs, I will make video explications of those and post those to the channel as well. So I've got 1282910 for Series 7 and 1178785 for 66. Okay. Boom. Oh, I got to get rid of my banner. Hold on. There we go. Let's do full screen. Okay, so put confidence in the chat. And then we'll do our drawing. Well, the glossary, Stuart, if I only had one thing I could do, glossary wouldn't be bad. But yeah, I think that's kind of foolish. You know, that could get you fired pretty quickly. If I was your accountability partner, and you better pass if that's what you're gonna do, right? So, you know, like I said, don't get wrapped up in somebody else's effort, because that could be a problem. You got to put it in, Erica, exactly as it reads. So you got to have that exclamation point, or it won't show up. So I see some of you put confidence with no exclamation mark. So you got to redo it, guys. Sorry. It's got to be confidence with a question mark, or excuse me, explanation point. You got to have it exactly as it shows up on the screen. And you know what I want you to do in the morning when you wake up? I want you to go to the mirror and say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest test taker of them all? And then I want you to say, Erica. No, I want you to say whatever your name is. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest test taker of them all? And because confidence, I can't prove it. Confidence worth some points. All right, so remember what you got to do if you win is you have to send me an email to claim your victory. Let me find my email to put there. Where is my email? There we go. All right, let's do the drawing. Boom. All right, Kathy. Woohoo. Get some more time with Kathy. That's always good. That's bueno. So, Kathy, you know the drill. Send me the... You didn't win last week, did you, Kathy? You're not allowed to win 2 weeks in a row. I think you were a winner, but I don't think you won last week. You're not. The only rule we have is you can't win 2 weeks in a row. So that's our rule. Let's see. Let's get rid of that. Erica, what do you think? So Erica thinks we should do 2 drawings tonight. Does anybody want to do a second drawing? I got to figure out how to do this. So hold on. Give me a little minute here to figure this out. Boom. And then let me go back to here. And let me go back to broadcast. And let's do okay. What do you guys want to do? Want to do another one? Erica, you take advantage of all the free stuff we have for you. I spend much time with you, so I think you're doing pretty good. You know, you're leveraging that return on the class. Okay, so we're going to do another one. Let me get my screen up here. Stop sharing. Share screen. Okay, so our next one is going to be RTFQ. RTFQ. That stands for read the full question. Read the full question. So RTFQ, we'll do 2 drawings tonight. We don't count on 2 drawings. You know, I'm not in the business of giving away free stuff. So but we'll do tonight. I'm trying to learn how to use this thing, and it tells me that it will automatically exclude Kathy. So Kathy, you should not come up because this tool tells me now that I can actually do more than one drawing and make sure I don't have a double winner. So we'll see. We'll see if that's true. Do me a favor though, Kathy, do enter so I can try that out. So go ahead and put this in there, and then we'll see if we see you scroll by or you end up winning, because they've told me that it won't let you do that. But who knows if that's true. All right, we ready for the next drawing? All right, here's the next one. Drawing right now. Boom. Cynthia, she deserves that. Another winner. I love it. Some of our loyal ladies are winning. That's always good. That's always good. So Cynthia, you know the drill. Send me the email and claim your victory. All right, let's go back. Boom. Okay, anybody got any last minute things they want me to answer? I will explicate, probably not tonight, maybe in the morning, or tonight maybe. I got 2 questions you expect to see in video explications. For Series 7, a convertible question, QID 1282910. And for Series 66, 1178785. And I'll try and get that up this evening some point, if not first thing in the morning. Anything else? Thank you so much for joining us for our live stream Q&A. Again, we're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Share it with any test takers you know. And then remember, it's available as a podcast episode as well. Hey, Ben, my pleasure, man. Like I say, I'd be out of the business as a tutor if everybody worked as hard as Ben did on his exam, right? So do I hear 3? No, David, 2 is plenty. It's not special if everybody wins, right? I mean, you got to have a little bit of an idea of somebody who's winning. And then by tomorrow, I'll have the timestamps with the videos that I told you I would link on the various issues that we discussed this evening. Okay. Are you in the class? All right, Wendy, that's tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. So I'll see you there. So do let me know in chat if you're joining me for the Kaplan 66 class tomorrow. Just put it in chat. You can do it privately to me that you're one of our people from the YouTube channel. Just I treat all students well, and I want them all the tests. But, I give a little extra love to our people who are joining us from the channel. So, okay. All right, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, I almost forgot the sign off. Oh, I can't believe I almost forgot. Inch by inch, your exam is a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. We'll see you. That's the Marcel rule. Indeed, Marcel won twice. He's the founder of that rule. We should call it the Marcel rule because he won twice in a row. So, all right, everybody. I'll see you next Tuesday, if not